Ever since I make a video about Dissidia NT Biggest Problem, I've been thinking a lot about the detail in that video. One segment in particular made me wonder a bit. Dissidia NT is a competitive arena team-based fighting game, the genre that have never been popular in the West. It was a detail that probably go by really quickly for most people, but after some time, I realized there's a lot more to that might lead to interesting topics, like the genre of team arena fighting game, the arcade scene, and the future of the Dissidia series. It's no secret that when Dissidia NT released, the fan and community have been very divisive. There are people who prefer original PSP and the other prefer the new NT. Now, it's clear that I lean toward the latter group. I already shared my thought on both games in How NT Fixes Duodecim video, and consider how NT have changed to the opposite direction. It's no surprise that old fans didn't like the new installment, rework, soft rework, and whatever. It doesn't help that Final Fantasy fan is not really familiar with competitive multiplayer game. The closest thing is MMO title, but those are mainly co-op games. There are some old Dissidia fans who play competitive, yes, but they're really small due to previously mentioned problem with Duodecim, and you know PSP don't have online play, and emulated version online is a lot worse than NT right now, which you know what you expect is emulator. But for newcomer aka non-Final Fantasy fans who are more into a single player game, NT was in an awkward situation that is in the middle between fighting game and MOBAs. More specifically, the reaction, prediction, and combo chain for fighting game, and teamwork, map awareness, strategic element of MOBAs. It's pretty hard for one group of player blades to learn and appreciate the other aspect, or find a person who like both of these game genres together. It doesn't help that Dissidia is a crossover game, which basically means it will be seen as a game for fans by default. But consider a lot of reference and some nice touch in a lot of character moveset, it's not wrong at all. But despite how NT got poorly received by critics and old fans, and the sale in the West is not really good, it's still been played regularly in Japan. Many of you will already know the reason. Of course they have an arcade for a long time. But let me expand more on the topic of an arcade game. You see, for Western gaming, NT was a weird genre that rarely have been seen before. But for Japanese, it's nothing new at all. Okay, I'm gonna be talking about other game series entirely for a while, but trust me, it will come back to Dissidia eventually. The grandfather of team-based arena fighting game is a Gundam vs series. While I'm not sure if this series is the one who started it, it's definitely the one who made the genre popular in Japan. And it's clear that Dissidia NT or even the original Dissidia takes some inspiration from Gundam vs. And no, I would not say that NT plainly copied that series. Gundam vs focused more on quick movement and more toward fighting game side, while NT is a bit slower but a lot more strategic, more toward MOBA side. Another big difference is Gundam vs is debuted back since 2003, and have around 7 main installments, emphasis on the word main. So for a long time I don't really know much about the series. I had bought the PS4 installment of the game that's simply called Gundam vs and played a single player, cause I don't have a PS Plus at the time, and I thought it was okay. But then when I go to attend the second Dissidia NT Thailand tournament, yes we have that, this time it was a cooperation with Gundam vs tournament as well. But the thing that caught my eye is that they used the previous version of Gundam vs instead that called, ready for this? Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme vs Full Boost. And I'll go, oh don't worry, get better. Anyway, MSGE VSFB was released in 2014, 3 years before that Gundam vs came out. It's also on PS3 and it's Japanese game only. In fact, the latest Gundam vs is the only game that got a global release and got an English language. Well, text only though, no voice acting. So why the hell aren't they not using the latest version then? Well, I got some answer from the Gundam fan that event. Despite being sold quite well in Japan, no surprise though, it's that kind of series that was sold well regardless. They say that the latest version was hated by fanbase due to some Gundam suit not being available or put behind DLC. The game don't really add anything new from the arcade or previous version. Almost everything is recycled aside from PS4 visual update, and most importantly the striker mechanic. The new gimmick that allows players to call small unit or other character to do one attack, which result in 2 or 3 striker being widely used while other 180 striker being ignored. Sound familiar to you? In fans' opinion, they see the latest Gundam vs more as a test run for next-gen game, so most players will stick with the previous title. I'm not saying that the latest Gundam vs was not played anywhere. It was the only installment with English text and released globally, so obviously it was the most accessible game for Western country. But for Thailand, we import Japanese game regularly, and gamers who play Japanese exclusive game are almost just as much as English game. Not only that, but they also tell me the reason why the latest Gundam vs was ignored by developer and fans alike. It's not like they failed to make it great. They don't even want to make it great. Remember that MSG Extreme vs Full Boost? Turns out it was the expansion of Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme Vs. Similar to how Duodecim is an expansion of OG Dissidia. But as I said, this game is started from the arcade, and my freaking god, the level of expansion they have with this game can rival early Street Fighter release. From original Extreme Vs to Extreme vs Full Boost to Extreme vs Maxi Boost to Extreme vs Maxi Boost on, and finally Extreme vs 2, which is yet to be released. All of those are for arcade only, by the way. Only OG Extreme Vs and the Full Boost got PS3 release, and one spin-off called Force released on the Vita, which is hated by everyone. So this particular installment has been started since 2010 and continue to live to this day, but eventually they stopped porting arcade game to console and instead doing an inferior version for it. Why exactly? Well, easy. The arcade is too profitable to make a cheaper option for the players. Japan is like an alternate universe of gaming. PS Vita is still alive and arcade games still exist and is freaking popular. Just look at this map that have the location of Dissidia arcade machine. There are a lot of arcade centers all around Japan. Going back to Gundam vs, there are arcade buildings that have one floor that dedicate to this one game and is always full. Not just that, looking back at some fighting games from Japan, a lot of them start as an arcade first. Every Tekken, most of Guilty Gear, every Blade Spool aside from Cossack, but 3 of those franchises that they're crossover with also released on arcade first, and more. No wonder why Konami is still alive with their pachinko machine. And this release tactic got a lot of benefit. Not only does it act as an early access game and they can fix some bug, glitch, bad design or add more content to the game before the release, while simultaneously make money out of it, but it also have a similar effect to all those grinding gacha mobile games. Except it's not mobile at all. Ha! Most of these games come with cosmetic like icon, title or sometimes music that you can earn through grinding. Remember that $1 weapon DLC for NT? Well, you can earn that through the arcade for free, if you can get your character to level 25. And consider how much EXP you need, you can probably just buy both DLC and a game with that money. And imagine if you could get some fan to commit to the arcade game, that the plastic machine will become a freaking ATM. My brother have gone to Japan for around 2 months and a half for internship last year, and he have wasted over 60,000 yen on that damn machine. And he only played an offline mission mode, and barely get one character to level 15. So imagine what it will be like for hardcore player to pour in the backup coin in the game to eventually get to Crystal A rank. Although I kinda wish my brother didn't spend 60,000 yen on that, I can probably bought another copy of NT with a PS4 Pro for bonus. I mean that's basically equal to one arcade machine, right? And for Gundam vs case, it's blown out of proportion. Cause one downside for releasing arcade first is after the console or PC version come out, which is more accessible and a lot cheaper, people will go play that instead unless arcade got something better to offer. Because of that, Bandai Namco just said, screw it, not gonna port this arcade anymore, I'm printing money here. So what about Dissidia arcade then? Well, because due to the nature of the game being 3v3, arcade environment worked extremely well. With strong and stable network, hell, this is not the first time Square making a team-based game on arcade. And it's really successful. It's one become the #1 arcade game in Japan and stay at #2 for around 2 years. And this is back when there are less than 20 characters, by the way, so that is really something. But because the game have a contact with Sony since they help with the engine and the arcade hardware, it's basically PS4, they have to make a console version eventually. Hell, I sometimes wonder if they will even make it NT if they didn't have a contract. And when Dissidia NT released, the arcade, as expected, got pretty quiet, and they have to remove the number of machines in some arcade, but they still want to keep an arcade alive, so they have what I call 2-month policy. Aside from arcade exclusive title, icon and music, a ton of it actually, which help an arcade a bit, but not so much. So every DLC character rework, update change, stage, etc. will be in arcade for around 2 months before it comes to NT. And it's mostly work. While waiting DLC make people come back for a while, local release have made an arcade very lively to the point where it become a speed meta war. And while NT didn't sell well in the West, it sold pretty good in Japan, not as much as previous title, yes, but the arcade have been earning a ton already, and this NT port basically used the same system and whatnot, with only some additional system like Summon Battle. So even though the game doesn't blow up everywhere else aside from where they already blow up, the fact that the arcade still exists means at the very least it can probably self-sustain for a while. Consider that they even start reworking old characters to make them more gimmicky and new ones to play. It's hard to believe that they will do that if the game is going to go off the air. The question will be how well they can manage both versions and not alienate one particular side. And if you ask me, while I'm not entirely believe that 50 plus character promise is relevant anymore, since that statement was like 3 years ago, but I can say that it's really possible for that to happen. Maybe they will follow the Gundam vs approach with different versions later on and more character. Like, I don't know, Dissidia Final Fantasy Final Boost. But if they do, I wish they don't get a fool of themselves and actually release a console version. Yeah, Sony, thank you for the contract. I will take 2-month policy over not get to play it at all. Honestly, I'm glad that they discount an NT to around $30 or $40 in some place. With the current content, that's more justified price. So is there any chance they can win back some Western fan? Well, hard to say. For those who want what we want, there's no freaking chance they will make a whole new mode with a character that balance around that mode. Maybe they will remaster Duodecim to PS4? Maybe? It will be a good single player game, but if they're not gonna change any character and actually balance bravery system properly, which they obviously won't, I cannot imagine the online being anything but slot X deathmatch, 20-minute ultimate zoning, or sedan arid endless combo. For those who want longer story, me included, there's some hopes here, since for every new character that come out the story got updated. Though when story is really short, there is a chance that other characters like Locke will get a longer campaign. For those who yelling about PC version, yeah, tell that to Sony. And sadly, from what I heard, there's no sign of any plan to make a dedicated server right now. So yeah, that's all I have for the moment. I found it interesting case study for this 3v3 genre being extremely niche outside Japan. So I wonder when will this genre get more popular and maybe attract more player base to increase the number of hardcore players outside of niche Japanese gamer. There are 2 games on the market right now, but one of them barely try and the other still not trying enough. The only thing we can do is see what happens in the future. May the light of the crystal guide their way, I guess. Oh, also, stop Shiwa Meta please for the